Yeah, hey guys. I just want to start doing some more videos here, and I'm going to start with you know, the last 12 years since I came home from upstate New York. I see the last video I did, and I'm pretty sure I know where I left off. But was it 12 years ago? Yeah, 12 years ago in April. So this past April, 2020. Go back 12 years from now. First week of April, I came home from upstate New York. I was up there. Was gonna. I thought I was getting married. I had a fiance, actually someone from down here that I moved up there with. This girl. I'm not getting into who she is, but moved up there. She was living up there in her father's house up in the Adirondacks. I moved up there with her, and then we moved further north up to a place called up to a place in up near Montreal, and I finally moved back because we broke up. I couldn't, she couldn't do, I couldn't deal with her, and I don't know if she had anything to do with what happened in the last 12 years since I came home. Her uncle was a politician here in Stanford. Her name was Loud. Her name, I'm not allowed to get into names, but you know, she maybe she had a lot of spite. She was very, I broke up with her. I actually called the police on her, and she left that place, and I kept it. I was there. We were engaged. We weren't married, and I lived with her for a long time, engaged. I wasn't going to get married to her right away. I and even her father said, don't do the justice of the peace thing with her when I asked his permission over the phone. She couldn't hear him. I heard him though. I kind of already was like that. I wouldn't do that anyway. I'm a slow mover. Never was much to. I never wanted. I really marriage was something that scared the living crap out of me. So I always did. Young kids and all that, the whole friggin' thing. It's just not me. So anyway, yeah, but anyway, I got home in April of '07. I guess, yeah, that would be 13 years. So yeah, I got home in April of '07, and in that first week, something happened. Something went down where my mom sort of, I guess, she called the police on me while I was here at my dad's house. She thought I was going nuts. Then she saw something that proved that I was fine, that what I said was not that nuts. And I guess, you know, once people think you got a problem, then they're going to think that all the time, I guess. If you do have a problem, like anything you say is unbelievable. Even if you don't have a problem, she committed suicide though. So in the end, my mom, I don't think we knew that. I'll get into that later. That's further in the future. But when I first came home, first of all in Stanford, I moved to Stanford here in Connecticut, Stanford, Connecticut, with my father. I had always lived here, but I lived away from my parents. I moved out of my parents' house, or my mom's house. I grew up with my mom, and we were living in Greenwich. I moved out of there and lived for a long time on my own. First with my sister for a little while. We both moved out, lived as roommates. Then she moved out, got married, and I lived with many roommates. And then I lived with my fiance. And then when I moved home, I had to move with my father. I was forced to. So when I came back in '07, I had to come back to him. I had nothing. I had left everything behind because when I went up there to be with this girl or this woman, whatever you want to call her, crazy bitch. But anyway, she throwing things at me and I mean all kinds of stuff. I really don't care about any of that. Nothing to do with anything. But she I came home. I had to come home and live with my father at friggin' 37 years old. I have lived on my own for so long. But anyway, and that's not the worst part of it, but he's really kind of nuts. I got recordings of him that prove him crazy. My mom, she committed suicide. I mean, they were both nuts, my parents, both of them growing up. My sister and I never knew what to make of them. My sister's great. Most of my family I can get along with great, but my parents, yeah. In a lot of ways, my mom's suicide was sort of a relief for me. I didn't have to worry about her anymore because I always heard about it my whole life from both of them. Me, I was the middleman. I heard it from everyone. My whole life, I've been hearing it from everyone. My family and friends, and just yeah. Anyway, but anyway, back to '07 when I came back, I witnessed a Stanford police officer at the end of the summer of that summer. I went down September 11th. I had not been to New York City since that event, since that had happened, back when it did happen. So I'd been you're talking like years, a decade, more than a decade since I've been down there. And no, '07, not been that long, but it's been almost a decade. And I went down there just to see where things had come. And, I used to work down there a little bit, or not really work down there, but I've been all around the city. And we saw those Twin Towers burning down, and it hit home, with me at least. And hit home with a lot of people. But I went down there just to check it out. Came home about 4 in the morning. I was coming home, and I see a Stanford police officer outside in front of Bradford's. We all know where that is in Stanford, if you're from Stanford. Bradford's, and that's a police bar. I found out later. I didn't know that. I don't go to police. I really don't go to bars. I started clubbing. That's what I used to do, and I really never drank much when I went out because I'm dancing. I'm not into bars really. Bars are boring. There's no women in there, and it's all men, and it's a point. At least get a mix. And it's always like, what's the point of that? Sit there and drink very expensive beer. I don't know. I like beer. I like pool. I like to do something. I don't mind drinking, but when I'm doing something, you know. But anyway, Bradford, I see this officer parked in front of as I'm coming up, I got off exit 8 or exit 7 or whatever, came up Atlantic Street, going to Bedford Road just to go home. Just to go up that way, go where I was going. And I see on the right-hand side there, on the parallel parking in front of Bradford's, a marked unit, marked police car, sitting there with a spotlight on the window. So I didn't know what was going on, so I pull up behind and see what's happening. There's something happening. There's only one officer, so I didn't think there's much, but I just want to check it out. As I'm pulling up into the space, and as I get close, as I'm pulling up, I see right in the window, there's a girl in a G-string dancing, 4 in the morning. Alrighty then. I'm going to go back to another thing that happened. Wait, before this, I was arrested in Greenwich. Within like the first week of coming home. I was at my mom's, that's right. First interaction with the police. I started this whole thing. Terry Harding with the Greenwich Police, and I know all those guys. I know most of them, their names. I used to. 2005, they were busted for internal racism by the FBI. Alright? And that's very true. That's why the whole police force changed over. They had no internal affairs department. It was actually in the Greenwich Time, if you look up in the archives. It's on the front page. 2 Greenwich captains went to the Supreme Court up in Hartford and for that. And but anyway, I was arrested right when I came home in 2007 by Terry Harding, and he'd always been on the force. I knew his face, and I knew of him and his name for a long time. He'd been around for a while. I grew up in Greenwich my whole life, so I knew most of those guys from when I came back. And I've always been around that town. All my friends come from there, and everything. So anyway, he arrested me for breaking and entering into my mother's place at 71 Vissy Drive, which is public housing. All right, it's a public street, and I was out on the street. And that whole thing, he never fingerprinted me, nothing. All right, and put me in a hospital, Greenwich Hospital, psychiatric, like the little area where they keep people for that. I don't know. I talked to my mother. Like I said, she committed suicide about a year and a half later. She was crazy. She was nuts. So I guess they want to listen to her. No questions asked. I was arrested too, though, for breaking and entry and then trespassing. That was on the computer screen when I was in the back of the car. And there was no questions asked. I was just thrown in the car before they even talked to my mother. And then I'm in the car. I don't know what's being said. And then, obviously, and then the breaking and entering goes away. It's just trespassing. All's on the street. And there's no way to get in there. And it's a public street. Vissy Drive. It's a dead end. But it's all public, all around the buildings. It's all public. Public ground. There's a playground behind her building. There's sidewalks that go around, stairs that go down to the street below. There's Dorothy Hamill skating rink right behind it. People cut through all the time to go to the Dorothy Hamill skating rink. They cut through that place. Kids go through there all the time. We used to play up in there, riding the trails behind the buildings. They've always been there, the buildings, growing up. So, whatever. So that was the first arrest. I got a nollie for it. Actually, the public defender wanted me to plead guilty. I said, no, I plead not guilty. She pled me not guilty. Told the judge. Judge said, well, you give you a nollie, don't come back here again. But it wasn't breaking and entry. It's bullshit. See, because the door was never broken. You have to break a practically bulletproof glass door to get into the building, and or else be buzzed in by the person who lives there. If he buzzes me in, then I'm not breaking an entry, right? So what's going on here? Yeah, that's why that left the screen. And then they had this trespassing and no fingerprints. I say that's kind of a false arrest. You're supposed to get fingerprints when you do an arrest, right? Well, anyway, and a lot of this doesn't dawn upon you right away after it happens. I mean, I had to go to court afterwards. So by the time you figure it out, it's too late, really. So, it's hard, and you're nervous, and it's not like, that day there was any bail or anything. I know it was official. I know what's going on. This is one thing's going to lead to another, though. Now, in September, back then when I was talking about Bradford, back to that, this is my next instance with a police officer. It's kind of weird. In between, I'll tell you what happened. Now, through September, we're talking about April through September of 2007. All right, 2007, I pulled up behind that officer, and there was a girl in a G-string. She's like early 20s at the most, and she's dancing in the window of the bar. There's a big picture window, and it's tinted. So unless you shine a bright light on it, you're not going to really see much through that window. But she was right in the window, and he had his spotlight on the window from his car, and he was watching the scene. So I watched it too, both of them. For about, I had my headlights on. It was nighttime. It was 4 in the morning, and he takes off after about a minute or two. He didn't realize I was there right away, but when he did, he took off real slow. And he's in the right lane. I'm in the left lane because I was going to make the left on that little one-way street. Used to be a one-way street, Spring Street. Take that first left off of Bedford Road. And as I was doing that, he leaned out of his window and yelled back to me. He got in my lane. He yelled back to me, "You see that? You see that?" A real high-pitched voice, a real nasally kind of voice. And, kind of, boom. Then I started having problems with police. So I saw that one. I witnessed it. He looked back. He saw my car. He probably got my license plate. Probably what he was doing. Do you see that? You see that? And I just looked like I was just in shock. I never thought I'd witness something like that. I almost like TV bloopers if I had my cell phone out. I didn't know smartphones were around. Actually, then I don't think they were yet. They were coming around, but they didn't come yet. But I probably would have filmed that. I've been ready to film it. Like now I would. Damn. It'd be great for the YouTube. I mean, the whole thing. Really. And who was in the bar? A whole crowd of guys. At like 4 in the morning. I swear to God. And I started having problems with police suddenly. Regularly. And over that summer, in between, I was put in the hospital multiple times. A psychiatric hospital where the doctors were even saying, "What the hell, the police nuts? Your dad nuts? Is your mom nuts?" My mom went in the same hospital during that time. Same freaking hospital. And they booted her out. They couldn't even handle her in the hospital. And then she goes and kills herself in 2008. August of 2008. Crazy woman, right? Everyone's listening to a crazy woman. I guess she listens to my dad. Well, and he never lived with me growing up. He didn't even know me, really. He knows me through my mother. I guess he just assumed that my mother had it all right. That everybody's got it all right. Nobody's got it all right about me. Nah. I'm a man of change. I'm not a man of same old shit, different day. Nah, different shit, different day, every day. Alright? That's why I'm not a boring person to hang around with. So people like me. That's why I can joke around. Because I get around. Alright? I hang out with different people all the time. I can't take this, every day doing the same crap day in and day out, my whole life straight forward. I can do that kind of thing, but not forever. Nothing is forever. So anyway. But that leads up to September of 2007 and the beginning of it. And then what happens next and what I find out along the way. That's going to shock you too. Coming back real quick with another video.